Kash, I hope you don't mind me asking, and this is something I wasn't planning on doing. But Nikki Haley said that she grew up in the South in the late 1980s. When she was a teenager, she was banned from beauty pageants because of her skin color, and that she was attacked ruthlessly because of her skin color in school. And she's saying that as obviously as an attack against perhaps the Republican electorate in the South, but also in order to play the victim card. I would like to get your take on these comments that have gained wide circulation this weekend.
Well, listen, as a brown man in America, I don't ever lead with that, and neither did Donald Trump when he put me in a senior post. He led with the best man or woman for the job. So if Nikki Haley's playing the race card and saying she didn't get to go to beauty pageant because she was brown, that tells you how far behind she is and how desperate she is. Anyone that plays the race card, Al Sharpton, Joy Reid, Joy Behar, the entire cast of The View, those are the people you're affiliating with when you play the race card. You know who never played the race card but was accused of it 24/7? Donald Trump. That's the kind of leadership we need. A man who doesn't care whether you're brown, blue, black, orange, male, female, whatever, who you go home with at night. He cares about the best guy or woman for the job. And if Nikki Haley's advertising her color already, maybe she's going to continue the white rage, DEI, transgender ideology of the Department of Defense, Mark Milley, Joe Biden, and Secretary Austin. Voters should vote on that.
Kash, I love having you on the program because, one, you have been so professionally right. You predict things months and years before they happen. You've done so on this program. We probably should build our own Kash stinger, where it's like somebody telling the future, right? Like the great whatever Johnny Carson used to do, right? Where he'd hold stuff up to his head and he'd predict things.
Well, I got one for you. I wasn't planning on rolling this out yet, but if you want,
sure. Okay. Well, I was going to continue my compliment, but please.
All right. So Chris Wray just testified to Congress or informed Congress that he is guaranteeing the election security of the United States of America. Now you got to ask yourself, wait a second, what does that mean? How can he do that? Somebody call Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and the other guys and ask them if they have canceled every one of their contracts with the FBI's election task force to censor United States information. Ask them. Ask them if taxpayer-funded contracts are still in play from the FBI and DOJ to these social media giants and whether or not they are meeting with them weekly and monthly with FBI leadership to talk election security.
So this is still ongoing. What
Yep.
you're saying, like the same censorship regime for social media to ding people or ban them from questioning the results of the election. This is still ongoing.
No, the same people that met leading up to the last election, the FBI and Twitter, the FBI and Facebook, and their 80-person election security task force would go there and suggest, oh, you can't put this out. You shouldn't put that out. It is not the FBI's job to tell media companies what they should and should not put out. And the media should be revolting that a law enforcement agency is dictating to the media what they can and can't put out. But of course, they're giving them a hall pass because what they don't want them putting out is anything pro-Trump. And as we spent tens of millions of dollars as taxpayers allowing for this election rig job to happen, and we are essentially allowing it to happen again because no one at these companies is shredding these contracts.
Wow. I thought that X had done that, but you're saying that there's still the back door into the social media, like ban this, ban this account.
Still there.
It's remarkable. It makes you wonder, like, when do you think they're gonna come after and take down Tucker Carlson's account for interviews like this? Since we're talking about election integrity, Ken Paxton dropping fire this weekend saying, "Hold up, like the reason they stopped the vote counting during the 2020 election was in order to figure out how many mail-in ballots to apply to the actual vote totals." This is what Tucker Carlson broadcast recently.
They stopped counting votes on election night?
Because what they needed to figure out was how many real votes there were so they could figure out how many mail-in ballots to apply to the election. That's what they would have done in Texas, I'm convinced.
So you think that was fraud, right?
I have no doubt, having been through that whole process.
It wasn't just a water leak?
It was definitely planned. I mean, it would have happened in Texas. I promise
But
you.
can you just stop counting ballots on election night when
They
everyone's
did it.
watching TV? Oh, I know.
Have you ever seen that before? Ever? For 3 years?
Well, you tell me. You're the one. You're the politics.
I've never seen it before in my life. I was like, I knew it when they stopped, and Trump is leading in all these states. I knew exactly what they were doing. Because there's no way to know where those mail-in ballots came. Anybody could have filled them out. Anybody. There's no way to know where those ballots came from.
That's not a dangerous conspiracy theory?
I watched it happen. I was a part.
So you're telling me that they're going to ban clips like that again in the 2024 election, and as the chief of staff to the Department of Defense, that there's no infrastructure around to like stop it. It's ongoing.
It's very simple to stop. Congress just shuts off the spigot of taxpayer money that pays for that contract, or the social media company, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, whoever, cancels the contract. That's easy. Now, and you know, Ken's obviously one of the best AGs we got in the country, and he's talking about they stopped counting the votes. Well, how about here in my home state of Nevada? They're doing another election rig job. This is my primary ballot for the state of Nevada. It says vote on February 6th for your candidate for Republican nominee. Look whose name's not on there, Donald Trump. Look whose name's on there. 2 people that have dropped out of the race. Feb 6, Clark County. You know what this is? State leadership in this country is allowing Nikki Haley to continue to run a primary when Nevada has been governed by a caucus for 40 years. The Nevada GOP caucus is on February 8th. There is nothing at play on February 6th except the election rig job for the mainstream media to say, oh, Nikki Haley won the primary. It is completely meaningless. No delegates get awarded for the primary. State leadership here in the state of Nevada is permitting. This is going out to every Nevadan, 3.5 million people. And people are like, wait a second, I should vote for that? No, you need to show up to the caucuses on Feb 8 and go and caucus for my guy, Donald Trump, and make sure he gets all the electoral candidate votes from the state GOP. So you can either not count ballots or create an alternate universe where you're allowing a voting system to prop up a sham candidate.
This is incredible. I like I've heard rumblings of this, but I never actually saw the ballot itself. So there's the GOP in Nevada are keeping Donald Trump off the ballot?
No.
For a fake primary?
Not the GOP, the Nevada state leadership. They are in charge of the Nevada primary. The GOP in Nevada is run by great guys, Mike Davis, Segal and company, who are saying, no, we caucus on Feb 8th. There's a reason. Look, they're so cheeky. There's a reason. It says none of the above. That's how they get away with it. So they can say, oh, if you don't want to vote for any of these guys, you just vote none of the above. I will obviously be voting none of the above because none of these people should be president of the United States, and we shouldn't participate in a scam.
It's incredibly fraudulent. Your thoughts, though, I did want to drill down because that clip is really making the rounds of the Texas Attorney General saying they tried to do it in Texas. This is what happened. They paused all the 5 biggest swing counties in all swing states at the same time. I've never seen that ever happen in an election. You were working in the administration at the time. Can you give me your perspective on like what was happening? Like what were you doing on election night? What was your reaction when you saw that, given your position?
I mean, it's frustrating. Look, my role really the whole time was national security, defense, intel. So I didn't have an active role in the election process. That was more of a campaign deal. But when you see the success that Donald Trump had in the national security arena, sealing the border, defeating Iran, shutting down the wars, shutting down the drug trade, the list goes on. You wonder how an electorate in the state of Texas could possibly not vote a border state for the policies of Donald Trump because they were so resoundingly victorious to protect our communities. So when you look at it from a policy perspective, you're just like, WTF? What is going on? How are Americans going the other way? And now we see all the ways and why.
Yeah. I mean, now it does, in fact, indeed seem like a hoax. And the more we learn about January 6th, obviously, it seems like a cover-up now. So January 6th committee deleted hundreds of files. This is a story breaking out from this morning from Fox News. You spoke to this committee. You engaged with this committee. You've run committees, obviously, inside of the House. Is this illegal?
Yes. I was the first person subpoenaed by the Unselect Committee. My transcript was the last one released, even though they wrote to us and my attorneys that we would release it. And this committee, it doesn't surprise me that they're burying and destroying evidence. I submitted into my transcript, into my sworn deposition testimony, 5 government reports from the Biden administration that they excluded from my testimony. The same thing they did in Colorado when I was the lead witness for Donald Trump. They excluded the Mayor Bowser letter where she refused Donald Trump's request authorization for National Guard, the Nancy Pelosi demand where she issued an edict to the Capitol Police saying, in writing, no to the National Guard. This was the crux of the insurrection narrative, and the 2 documents that exonerate President Trump were excluded, and they weren't written by Donald Trump. They were written by Pelosi and Bowser and the Capitol Police. And it gets worse. Joe Biden's Department of Defense Inspector General, Joe Biden's DOD IG, reviewed January 6th, and his findings were the following. And I submitted that to the January 6th committee. The Trump administration and its Department of Defense before, during, and after January 6th acted appropriately, swiftly, and in accordance with the law when it came to the deployment of the National Guard. How can that be a finding of Joe Biden's Inspector General and Donald Trump still be prosecuted for insurrection? It is legally impossible, but the disinformation campaign continues. And to your point, why did they delete this information? It's not the only information. It's so they wouldn't have to produce the evidence that actually exonerates Donald Trump. This is the ultimate election time rig job by the House of Representatives, and judges are going along with it by selectively excluding evidence of innocence. These judges are doing it in Colorado and elsewhere.
Could there be criminal charges for the people that did the deleting here? I mean, we're seeing a Hillary Clinton 2.0, right? Like they're deleting now the evidence, and they are obstructing justice. You've been a prosecutor inside of the DOJ. Do you see a case here for them to actually go after the staff members or the people who punched the delete button, the people who gave the orders inside of this unselect committee?
There absolutely should be an investigation. As a national security prosecutor, I'm furious that information was, as a former federal public defender, the guy who punched for due process every day, I'm furious that information and evidence was deleted by the January 6th committee. And hang on, when people are saying, oh, it's the House of Representatives, it's not DOJ, that's not how the Constitution works. The Department of Justice and the prosecutors knew about this information. And if they didn't provide it to the defendants of January 6th, those are Brady violations. That is a violation of constitutional Supreme Court law. And there needs to be an investigation on whether or not this committee provided that information to the prosecutors. And there should be a question. Here's the pivotal question. Did the prosecutors go to the committee and get this information? And you know why we know they did? Because government gangsters always write about their own corrupt ways. The DOJ wrote a letter to the Jan 6 committee saying, we are going to let you, the House of Representatives, proceed first. For the first time that I can ever remember in criminal DOJ history, DOJ bent the knee to House of Representatives and said, you guys proceed. And you guys collect information. And when you guys get it, you send it to us. They knew, they were in on it. And now DOJ needs to answer the question, do they have that deleted information? And did they turn that over to the defendants in January 6th? And Congress is the only one that can get that information. So I don't know, Benny. I don't know. I have much confidence if we're going to get any of it.
I mean, unless Donald Trump becomes president again, and then Attorney General Kash Patel happens, right? Attorney General Kash Patel would, of course, be the easiest Senate confirmation battle we've ever fought, and also would possibly be able to shed some light on the entrapment job that was claiming Kamala Harris was inside of the United States Capitol, and then ratcheting up charges on J6ers when, in fact, we know where Kamala Harris is because we have now the security footage thanks to Revolver News. You can see Kamala Harris's security detail outside of the DNC. In fact, this is the exact moment that the so-called pipe bomb was discovered in front of the DNC. Now, these clips have gone absolutely thermonuclear. No, let's put up the Twitter thread, please. Thermonuclear, thanks to our friend Darren Beatty. And this is, of course, a 7-minute clip of the extremely curious reactions of the Secret Service when the announcement of a pipe bomb was made at the DNC. And the curiosity of this is, one, a plainclothes Capitol police officer discovered the bomb. Nobody even acted urgently afterwards for minutes on end. Everyone kind of everyone just like let children walk in front of it and like normal pedestrians walk in front of it. And the pipe bomb, of course, bears like really strange resemblance to the pipe bombs that are used inside of the FBI as their test cases for trainings. Darren goes in on this clip in great detail, but says that it's very, very strange. I don't know if you've studied this at all, Kash. I assume you probably have. It's been seen by 15 million people. What does this footage tell us about that moment and this particular narrative of there being 2 pipe bombs at the RNC and DNC?
And you're right, Darren has done a brilliant job. But let's just put a button in that for 1 second.
Please.
And just sort of rewind the tape and come in from a macro level. There was an allegation that the vice president-elect of the United States was about to be blown up by a bomber. Now we're 3 years down the road, and we have no details of that investigation. No one has been prosecuted. No one has been arrested. And we now know that there's CCTV video footage of the individual responsible for putting the pipe bomb there, that they actually followed him through the subway and out into Arlington, Virginia. Are we to believe that the FBI couldn't track this guy down? What are you talking about? How is that humanly possible? That there are no leads and no information on this? And why hasn't Congress asked, furiously demanded, that a bombing to kill the vice president-elect of the United States has not been handled better? We know nothing today. And forget whether it's Kamala Harris or whoever. That's not the point. The point is that the evidence is now mounting, thanks to Darren's great work and your great work and others, that there's a reason the government gangsters at the FBI under Chris Wray are hiding this information about this investigation. And no one in the Republican-led majority Congress is demanding a single case file, a single source file, a single piece of information that's saying, what the heck happened? You attacked our center of democracy if the allegations are true. And how can you not arrest one person? Do you think the Federal Bureau of Investigation can't find a bomber in the United States of America? Has any one bomber ever gotten away?
You've worked inside the DOJ.
Yeah.
You've been prosecutor inside the DOJ. What do you make of this, seeing the evidence before you?
It's extremely troubling. One, if the allegations are true, that there is a bomber in the United States of America running wild who tried to blow up a vice president-elect of the United States. And in the flip side, if the allegations aren't true, or there was some government ruse, or some FBI rogue source, or whatever, I don't know because I don't have the case files, then there's another corruption scandal in and around an election time narrative that they're advancing today that we still don't know about. And Congress, all they're doing is giving Chris Wray a new FBI headquarters building in Maryland that's twice the size of the Pentagon. You get rewarded for your criminal cover-up government gangster operations if you are in government, and this Congress continues to let you do it.
Such a great point that you just made. There's never been a bomber, but not just a bomber, right? But a guy that went after the centers of power and after the second most powerful person constitutionally in America, the vice president. That person remains unfound. Also, like putting together, I mean, you could find the DNA on the bag of cocaine at the White House. You can certainly find DNA on something that is intricate as a pipe bomb, right?
They got the guy on TV. They have the footage. It's public.
So why degrade the footage? Because Darren's also gone in on this, and this was also a curious question asked by Tucker. Why degrade the footage of the bomber? Like, why do that?
Look, in the beginning stages of investigation, okay, remember the Boston Marathon bombing? Obviously you do. The way the FBI and smartly found Tsarnaev is they took the CCTV footage from the local coffee shop or whatever it was near the finish line of that tragedy, and they put that footage out for the world to see. The FBI deliberately put it out there. And then people called the FBI and said, I know that guy. I know who that is. And that's how we found Tsarnaev. And there's nothing wrong with using the community and the power of the community to go after a bomber. The FBI hasn't once put out this footage with clarity for the world to say, hey, we need an assist. And it's okay for the FBI to get an assist. That's what sources do. That's what witnesses do. That's what America does. We don't let criminals get away. We call the cops when we see someone breaking the law. And the FBI, hey, why haven't you put out a clear image of this and asked America, who is this person? You guys know him? He takes the subway in the DC area. He got out at Virginia. I don't know if he was the bomber or an associate of the bomber, just to be clear. I don't know. But neither does the FBI for to take them at their word. And they could simply just ask for an assist, and they don't.
Really telling. Really unbelievably telling, Kash. I love having you on here because you've seen these machines from the inside, but what you've really seen from the inside is the way that Donald Trump functions. I do want to get your final takeaway on some of these massive victories for Trump, where the campaign is now, where Trump's head is now, and what happens next moving forward. Obviously, the primary is tomorrow.
Yeah, look, I think, you are seeing a unique time in presidential election history. Mostly it's always economy, and rightly so. That's what should be a priority. But what you're seeing also is this booming interest in national security, defense, and intel. What you're seeing is that they are probably equal to each other in this presidential election cycle. And I think the reason President Trump is doing such a brilliant job, partly on the campaign trail, is because he's talking about the things that matter to Americans. The things that matter to Americans are a sealed border. The things that matter to Americans are shutting down the CCP so no more of our youth die in the streets of America from fentanyl overdose. The things that matter to everyday Americans is they don't want our sons and daughters shipped off to endless wars. The things that matter is a commander-in-chief who kicks the ass out of the cartel in Mexico and shuts down the human smugglers and takes on Iran, the CCP, and Russia. These are things that matter, that are permeating with the economic situation in America. And Donald Trump's Agenda 47 is better than everybody else's combined, including Nikki's. And I think that's resonating in Iowa. It's going to resonate in New Hampshire. And then everybody come out here to my home state of Nevada and come caucus with us on Feb 8, where hopefully Donald Trump will seal this thing up. But I think that's it, Benny. Usually it's economy. And I'm not saying don't focus on the economy. I'm just saying these calamitous situations of national security have gotten the attention of everyone. And no one in the Biden administration can provide an answer to safeguard our freedoms, but Donald Trump can.
It's why I was complimenting you at the beginning of the interview, is that you always you're perfect. You're like a perfect lead in to everything we want to talk about. You and I are of like the same, we focus on the same things. And I get, based on your answer, I just have to toss this up on screen because this must have enraged you. Fears grow that Trump will use military in dictatorial way if he returns to White House. What the hell is going on here? They say that the Department of Defense, who you are the chief of staff for the Department of Defense and the deputy director of national intelligence. You were in charge of this organ. They're saying that they are effectively working to ensure that Donald Trump won't have dictatorial powers over the military now in case he wins. Huh?
Look, this is Russiagate 27.0. It's their next disinformation campaign. They failed on everything. The DOJ just admitted the Hunter Biden laptop was real. No crap. And we now know what happened on January 6th. We now know there was no insurrection. We now know Donald Trump. We've known the entire time, but the mainstream media has failed to correct it, that Donald Trump authorized 10 to 20,000 National Guard 2 days before January 6th. So what do they go to next? Their next disinformation campaign, right? They can't get Trump off the ballot for insurrection because he's not guilty of insurrection. So now they're saying he's going to be a dictator. Based on what? Based on the guy sitting next to him, Chairman Mark Milley, who said he cares more about white rage than defending his nation. Based on Chairman Mark Milley, the guy sitting next to him, who called his Chinese counterpart during the Trump administration when he worked for me and said, I will warn you if we attack the CCP, and broke the law as the chairman of the United States. Based on that, based on Trump's preemptive notion to secure January 6th and the grounds 48 hours beforehand, what military did he seize? What military did he become a dictator of? We wiped out the emirs of ISIS, killed Baghdadi and Soleimani, destroyed al-Qaeda senior leadership, brought home 54 American hostages and detainees, more than every president performed combined, ended 3 of the forever wars, and had a ground plan based in intelligence to withdraw out of Afghanistan. What out of any of those successes tells you that Donald Trump is going to be a dictator? Of course he's not. He actually was the best national security president in the history of the United States, and the mainstream media hates him for it. And the guy sitting on the other side of Trump is another example of a defense industrial complex. He's the male version of Nikki Haley, the Raytheon guy who got a $10 million golden parachute after we fired him from the Trump administration for failing to execute Donald Trump's agenda. What is dictatorial about that? Nothing.
It does seem like the fix is in, and that they are planning on Trump coming back to power, and they are already making headroads to ensure that they kneecap once again a Trump administration while it's getting its feet under it, and that is precisely what they did last time. And I hope that in whatever role you serve in the next Trump administration, that you are guarding heavily against that, Kash. Ladies and gentlemen, you can help guard Kash by going to fightwithkash.com. You can go to governmentgangsters.com and get Kash's brand new book. You can get the signed copy. Makes for a fantastic gift. We got Valentine's Day right around the corner. Kash, God bless you. Godspeed. Hopefully we'll see you. Maybe we'll go out to Nevada for the cocktail. That'd be fun.
Come on out, man. We'll have a great time. Thanks for having me on the show, and have a great day.
Godspeed, man.